diversification to the panel members. So I'm 𝗪𝗞𝗜𝗣. I'm president of PCMI, which, we're really a software provider that provides administration systems. Dan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I introduced myself yesterday, but I'm not sure who was there. But my name is 𝗪𝗚𝗡𝗑𝗧, Vice President of 𝗪𝗡𝗡𝗣 Insurance. Prior to 𝗪𝗡𝗡𝗣, I worked 20 years with AIG ServiceNet. We were an administrator and underwriter for service contracts and consumer goods industry. My main focus prior to leaving AIG was really working on our international clients and managing our international opportunities with service contract programs. So I'm happy to be here.
And since this audience, sometimes, it's pretty diverse. Sometimes mostly U.S., but every once in a while we get international people. I thought what was really interesting was Dan was one of the people that worked, I believe, on the AppleCare program and how could you launch a program in multiple countries and all the different aspects of that.
Right. So, yeah, we were initially launched when AppleCare became AppleCare Plus. That was an ADH component of it. We had been working very closely with the AppleCare team to give them a compliant way of entering all 50 states. Once we launched that, I believe it was in 2011, within a month, they really quickly realized how that changed the industry for them and said, you want to go to one company, have one set of terms and conditions, have one set of, when I say terms, I mean general business terms, and we want to go into 27 countries. We want to launch by September X date, and we want to deal with one person. And so it was a bit of a challenge. I thought, oh, perfect. AIG is buying us. This will be easy. AIG is an international company. Well, they were siloed and had separate P&Ls. And so it was a bit of a challenge both politically within the organization, but also from a P&L standpoint and really from a compliance standpoint. Because while we had warranty programs in some countries like UK, we really didn't have a good understanding for China or New Zealand or some of the other various markets that typically for a big insurer fall off because there's just not enough volume opportunity in Luxembourg to launch a warranty program. And it's the same lift to launch a warranty program in Luxembourg as it is in the UK. So,
but obviously you do a ton just here in the U.S. too, but I just thought it was a really good diversity. And then a person I really respect a lot is Greg Myers from 𝗓𝗪𝗓. Greg, would you introduce yourself?
Certainly. So I'm Greg Myers with 𝗓𝗪𝗓. I've been there over 35 years, and we started in the extended warranty and warranty space back in '85 when we assisted Toyota in setting up their F&I program. And it's been an area that's expanded significantly for us. We're very involved with the automotive OEMs in establishing their programs and then managing captives, doing actuarial work. But we also work with a lot of other manufacturers as well, including we manage the captives and financial management for the AppleCare program. And then working with PCMI on particularly the automotive space and OEMs that are looking to bring in data and use it more effectively. We've been involved both in the U.S. with a number of programs, but pretty much everywhere else in the world, including Dubai and Australia and Indonesia and Japan and China and Europe and so forth.
And there's a lot of things we as a software company don't really do. I mean, we're pretty good at putting a system in place and meeting goals and objectives. And specifically, we had the opportunity to work on the Nissan rollout, at Greg in Bermuda and saw his operation. And they do a lot of strategic advice. I mean, what should you do? What should you not do? Should you use a TPA? Should you self-administer? How could it work? A lot of questions that I just would rather refer to somebody who does it professionally, right? And then we get questions about insurance, and we don't give people insurance advice. So the thing we try and do, we say PCMI, your technology partners, we have a whole portfolio of people we work with in the industry to bring you a total solution, right? And we're really proud to have this panel and put together. So my focus is technology, right? And one of the things I thought we'd cover is really things that have really caused a tremendous amount of uplift in the technology, right? And one is certainly the consumer claim aspect, right? which is really the ability for the customer, since we've put so much emphasis on selling online and buying online, how do you actually set it up so that a customer can actually file their warranty claim online? It's Saturday night, 12 o'clock, they're up, they want to get something replaced, they want to get something serviced. We've had people who total your car on a Friday. It's a pretty traumatic event, right? Because it's an accident. Then you realize, well, what am I going to do for a car on Monday? So we call these gap claims. So one of the companies we're really happy to work with, and they did a webinar with us, was Toyota, but it applies to anything. And I learned a lot, So these websites are not as simple as they first sound because they have to be American Disability Act compliant. Right? So if you're partially blind, you got to run a website? Yes, you do, right? So you really need to think about the disclosure and the notices, the self-registration. How are you going to ask questions about the product but not step over the lines? So these actually are a little bit more involved than maybe first meets the eye, but they're so powerful. And the consumers get so much satisfaction on know that they're instantly being taken care of, right? And then with our customers, they actually implement stuff on top of us, but they love the 24 access, and they like the immediate decision capability, especially on low dollar claims where you can say this is entitled, here's your coupon, or a replacement's on its way. So I'd really encourage everybody, especially with, we learned a lot from COVID, but it's really just a whole shift in how you're going to run your claims and your claims operation, right? And you should look at really the whole consumer side of it. The notification center, because we used to think, well, if we issued the policy, we did a good job, and if the policy got paid for, we did a good job. But everybody's talking your sales channel into selling these things. And you go out and maybe you register 5 stores, they're going to launch a new program, right? Well, how do you communicate with your sales channel to let them know that it's actually ready to be sold? Or how do you actually notify people of an event? So, for instance, if you filed a gap claim, you're going to need a new car. Did you send a text message back to the dealer saying, by the way, this person's going to be in the need of a new car, right? So you're an administrator and you've offloaded all this work from an OEM, but now the need to communicate more instantly through text messaging, email, correspondence. Greg, Dan, do you find more of an emphasis on this?
I think everybody's looking at it from a whole digitization of the entire process and having it all linked. And the sales aspect is a real big key thing, just to make sure that you've got the salespeople to go and sell a new car. If there's various issues, they can change the dynamics of how they're going to approach that customer.
So this is something we just introduced last year. We've been doing admin systems forever. But focusing on the communication between the sales channel, the people actually offering the warranty, the consumer, in one communication hub so that everybody can see all the correspondence, and especially in terms of the compliance issues. So it's nice to digitalize, but with digitalization also comes an increased need for communication, right?
Yeah, and I think the other thing is integration, because you tend to have multiple inputs that you may need access to as part of that process. So it may not be all in one system, but having a platform that can connect through APIs with all of that to make sure you get the proper information out to the right people.
So I think our biggest lesson learned, you first release a software, you always got these great visions, and then the first answers that come back is, this is really great, but how do we turn some of this off? I don't want my phone going off every 5 minutes, So what was interesting to me about the notification concept was making sure that the receiver has the ability to dynamically turn on and off. I want text alerts. I'd really rather get these as emails. I want to be able to configure this store location once they get a monthly summary. They don't want all this instant. And it really has to do with the characteristics of the person on the other end. So when you design all these capabilities, you got to make sure that they're also customizable, right, in terms of the message content and the message delivery, what people want to receive and when they want to receive it. Collecting money has always been a nice thing to be able to help people do, right? So what we used to do is we used to do a lot of things where we'd make a lot of sales and people would do monthly remittances. And it's interesting when you talk about a monthly remittance. Well, whose month? Is that your month as a TPA? Or is that their month as a business? So you get into months like June, and some people call the 4th of July still the month of June, right? Then you get into customers, they want to pay weekly. They don't want this accumulator process coming back, right? So to move all the accounting functionality directly into the admin system, which means you can actually ACH push and pull, so you can actually be able to pull money out with people's approval right out of their bank account. So one of the things, I don't know if anybody here has seen cost reduction, margins under attack. And we used to have a whole accounting departments at administration offices balancing. And this completely eliminates all of it, and it actually puts a lot more control in terms of the seller being satisfied. We're talking about somebody selling a group of policies, they can actually get the payments. But not only does it smooth out your month-end schedule, but it smooths out the people that are selling these products on your behalf. Now, some people have products that they're what we call field issue products, and everybody's responsible for them, but you typically don't pay your insurance company. You typically don't set up the reserves. You typically don't fund the captive accounts until you're actually in cash receipts, right? And when it's a process of cash receipts, we typically call it activation. And I don't know I don't know how often people here like to get paid, but most people want to get paid twice a month, at least, right? So when you think about your complete sales channel and how are you rewarding them, when we did this, we actually realized we could pay agent commissions weekly. We could pay agent commissions twice a month, or even better yet, at least the agent knew exactly how much money he was going to get. So if you automate the ability for all your stores and all your selling locations to pay you, and they go to a weekly pay option, and they do it because they're trying to balance out their accounting. And then that causes all the contracts to automatically be activated, which frees up both the insurance funding as well as the commissions. I was shocked how much work it took out of the equation, right? Because you don't have these phone calls, you don't have these statuses. And then your sales force can actually stay more in tune with what's going on and who's behind in payments. And so if you look at our industry, 99% of the time, everything looks great. If you look at what went wrong, is somebody sat on a bunch of cash because they were having some problems, and then that cash sat there, and then it turned out that they went bankrupt. And then when they went bankrupt, everybody has to step in and make everybody whole. If you shorten that window and you automate it, everybody likes it. I mean, there's really no negative to it, right? Nobody's mailing checks, nobody's sending wires. I mean, it's fully integrated, right? So this was another thing we felt really helped move the needle for people. And then another area that we found always sort of interesting is, typically in an administration system, your focus is on tracking the policies, tracking the claims, doing the earnings, doing the financial statements. And BI took off about 12 years ago, right? And everybody loves dashboards. Everybody likes the drill downs. But, what's interesting is we found out that everybody sort of made another whole data warehouse, right? Which, there's an IT reason to do that. But in terms of looking at your number of systems and your cost of your control and the immediacy of the data, if you've got 5 million, 10 million contracts in a system, you got several million claims, and you're making weekly copies of that just to feed the warehouse, just the time it takes to download and install that. So why not put the BI engine directly in the admin platform, right? And with the technology today has really upped its game. I mean, we call it Microsoft Embedded BI Intelligence. You could talk about the same thing with Tableau, but another tool. But making the intelligence engine part of the administration system means that the data is much more real time. It makes it much more available to the field. Greg, Dan, what do you guys see?
No, I think it's getting a dashboard that's usable quickly by people who may not understand all the data concepts, but that can drive back to someone who may be overseeing a sales group, and they can see where everybody's reacting and how to guide people along as well, and looking at the data both from a loss ratio performance and sale performance.
And I would say from a general trends perspective, all this technology enablement, whether it be customer engagement, product engagement, service reach, has really enabled the OEM in a much more powerful way. I used to be one of the principals at ServiceNet. There were a group of administrators who really focused on post-warranty service management. And the reason we did that is we had the systems and everything else. Well, right now, those systems are enabling the OEM to manage their own warranty. and to have their own dashboard, as we were talking about, to manage, understand the reserves, understand how the product's performing, really track the customer as opposed to a serial number. And that's happening right now as we speak. More OEMs are managing the customer experience. They know what's going on with the product with IoT devices. They can push out an upgrade from a service perspective. And then more importantly, they can upgrade that consumer later on at the end of product life cycle to buy a new product. So it's really changing the dynamics of the industry, and it's all technology driven.
You know, one thing I find really interesting is when we bring on customers, no matter if they're small or large, nobody purges data anymore. I mean, your intellectual property is in that data. What was your customer response? What did your customer buy? How much did it fail? So this data just grows and grows and grows and grows, which is a positive thing because the storage gets cheaper. But what's not cheaper is if you're going to say, well, to do business intelligence, we've got to make a copy of that thing and have a different group do it. People want to be able to get at their data. And it's a different kind of a technology, a BI technology, but we've actually now put it directly in what we call the administration engine. So we're going to have a Q&A session following sort of these big topics, but we just wanted to walk through a couple groups and take it from there. Another thing you can do is, obviously when you're approving warranty repairs, it's great to have that system actually have the ability to ship and track the parts that are going to be able to use the repair. A lot of people have a parts system. You've got your admin systems. And the admin system really goes through the entitlement, right? The admin system is really going through and saying, okay, this is the repair, this is a valid repair, this is the customer's obligation, this is their deductibles, this is what they have to do. And then this is what that parts and labor, and typically there's a third party performing the actual service. It could be a field dispatch, it could be a service tech, but then there's parts that are used, and parts come in all different flavors. So one of the parts that are pretty expensive for us is if the whole engine is gone, the whole transmission is gone. If you got a high dollar part, or you got specific parts, maybe it's a specialty part, right, that everybody might not have. So the ability that when you're getting the claim call, to be actually ship and track all the parts, so when the guy's there the first time, it's turned out to be a real convenience, right? So this was another area we tried to up the game on, right? So when you go to manage these extended warranties, what I try and remind people of, you really need to do the full life cycle, which is really, design the product, figure out what is the customer's need you're trying to do, define where is that specific market for you, and how are you going to manage your sales staff to call on those locations and track that those benefits are actually being sold. And then provide the benefits. If you're not providing a benefit, you're not going to have anything to sell. So you can call that claims, you can call that service, you can call that a number of different things. But when you take all that data about what your expectations is and what you did, we call that risk management. And that's what tells you the profitability of the program and the participation. So the reason I use this graphic is I call it spinning the wheel. And what we find is that if you can spin the wheel every 6 months in terms of you're constantly redefining your products and you're meeting new customers' expectations with new benefits, it's a good pace. Unfortunately, a lot of times people take a year. Some people take 2 years. Now, we have some clients, they like to say they do this weekly because you can actually define and launch products, but obviously you're not going to make a major product launch in a week, right? But I look at it as a constant refinement of what is out there in the opportunity, what are the T's and C's you should offer. It's not a one-time event.
No.
Okay. We should have Greg's slides.
Okay. We talked earlier about global programs, and both from a basic warranty system or an extended warranty system, it adds a significant amount of complexity that the system has to respond to make valuable information. But what we found with many OEMs is that the warranty systems are completely different, almost by region and in some cases by country. Part of that is due to In certain countries, you may have distributors. If you're in China, you've got a license, typically a partner. They won't allow you to do something wholly owned within China. And even within Europe, by country, they'll have sub-distributorships that have maybe all been purchased and consolidated, but they're still using independent warranty systems. In a lot of cases, we find different warranty systems between the U.S. and Canada. But setting up a process, and many of them are redesigning those warranty systems so they can get consistent information, because a lot of products may not have all the components exactly the right, because regionally people have different design and so forth. But a lot of components, an engine, a condenser on a refrigerator, are consistent among all parts of the world. And getting that data, both for setting your proper reserves, charging the proper price if it's an extended warranty, but most importantly, bringing that back to the internal engineers to understand quality or improvements that can be made to extend the life of that and increase sales. Getting all the analytics so it's useful by the engineers and by the people that are setting reserves and taking risk, and then working with the different language. Can the system handle different languages and different approaches that people may use that system because of the fact that they may have dealers or retailers that are owned in country? Typically here in the U.S., if you're going to buy an appliance, you buy it from Home Depot or Best Buy or something like that for a washer or dryer. You go down to Latin America, many of the major appliance companies have their own retailers that are owned. Same thing from a service perspective. So how can it integrate with those kind of different approaches? And then taking that warranty to an extended warranty system. Again, the consistency of data and using that warranty data to link in how you're going to handle extended warranty claims and all of the administration, designing the product pricing, particularly for a program where they may be assuming risk. Not all of it you're going to want to go into an extended warranty program, depending on the product. If you're looking at an Apple iPad, everything's going to be covered on that. If you're looking at an appliance, more than likely is everything covered, but not on a vehicle, because there's certain components that are going to wear and expire during the life of the ownership, whether it be batteries or windshield wipers and even some of the interior components. But many of the operational powertrain and certain electronics, you're going to cover that over for the length of time. So can your warranty system, can those systems take subsets of coverage and looking at different kind of product terms, whether it's mileage driven, it's number of years of service, it's hours of operation, all of those things need to be incorporated in the manage of that.
I'll just add one comment, Greg,
Sure.
if I could. So this is what I found most interesting when we had the opportunity to work was, and I'll just use it as an example because we did a press release, but we found out that the warranty systems are completely different in every country. Right, so we've deployed U.S., Canada, Brazil. We're deploying in Europe this quarter. And yet we let somebody have the exact same extended warranty program in every country, right? In terms of these are your additional benefits, and this is what's, and the way you do it is you bolt in. You don't try and replace those OEM systems. They're too complex, there's too much capital, there's too much in it. You simply attach them with your financial services team, and then your financial services team can actually manage the extended warranty program in that country, right? But it makes it very viable. And how is it that the number one customer retention tool is things like prepaid maintenance, extended warranty? Well, if that's your number one customer retention tool, how is it possible if you're an international OEM, you don't have an international program? And even AppleCare is not in every single country yet, right? But it will be, right? I mean, look at the results. So when you go to design these things and you go to set your goals, if you're an OEM and you're going to work with TPAs, it's not uncommon to have different TPAs in different countries managing the exact same extended warranty program for you, right? Because, you got different insurance rules, you got different regs, and we can make that all 100% seamless.
Yeah, I think kind of to your point on the global, when we were working on a number of different global programs, some of the complications are the currencies. How do you harmonize these currencies to understand what is the real risk? What are claims running in China compared to Australia? And How do you put that in a dashboard? There's some tax complications as well. Some programs, the service, part of the service is a VAT tax, part of it is a IPT, insurance premium tax. And really, how do you deliver the customer, whether they're in Australia or China, the same consistent coverage, yet have some of those regulatory exceptions? And technology is allowing the harmonization of a lot of that.
Yeah, so just dump all that responsibility in your extended admin platform. Make it easy for the customer. If this thing breaks, I don't care if you're in Brazil, Mexico, whatever, it's $9.99 a month, it's $179, and we're going to take care of you as a customer. Keep it that simple, and then use your admin system to handle that in-country specific logic.
Yeah, and an example of that is on the automotive side in Japan, after 2 years, your car has to be inspected, and it's much broader inspection process than in some states, like I'm from New Jersey, where you have to go in and it just has to make sure there's no environmental issues. But they look at all the components of the vehicle, and so, but it's a charge to the customer for that, and depending on any complexities, they have to be fixed. Well, you can modify your extended warranty system to cover all of those types of things as one single product, making it more desirable to customers.
And just to keep it simpler, just U.S. and Canada. You know, don't even think about changing your OEM system for U.S. and changing your OEM system for Canada. Just put that in your extended warranty platform and just have it manage it and interface, and it's that simple.
But having a combined system that can cross both warranty and extended warranty, the biggest advantage on that extended warranty, is you talked about customer loyalty, is when people buy an extended warranty or prepaid maintenance, close to 70% of the time that owner is going to come back into the dealership, as compared to less than 40% if they don't have something like that, and because they'll go elsewhere to get their oil change and so forth. But all of a sudden, when you bring them back into, whether it's even for electronics, they buy the parts, your branded parts. You've got consistency of service, you've got consistency of warranty coverage, and then you increase your overall sales both for your organization as well as for the dealers and retailers that are selling that product.
Yeah, and then just to speak to that, one of the things that we found complications with is you sold the program, the warranty program in China, someone made a claim in Australia. How do you get that back? How do you do the timestamp for the sale and the claim in a system-wise manner? And you know, regulations change. Brexit happens. It causes lots of issues, and so, you know, having a partner, a technology-enabled partner who's focused on that, looking at that system, really helps the OEM focus on what they do best, taking care of the customer and building a superior product.
The dealer is also expecting, and this goes both for automobile dealers as well as retailers of products, they want more information. They want real-time analytics that they can use in their service delivery and managing their sales teams and managing their F&I personnel. They need an e-menu, they need e-contracting, they need all of the processing has to be done digitized, and linking both warranty systems, extended warranty systems, you know, decoding vehicle ID numbers or serial numbers for the plans that are in place. So if somebody brings back a product that needs a repair, they know what kind of program it has in place where coverage can be provided. And then all of the analytics in a clear, concise manner for sales management, or for a dealer who has a reinsurance program where they're taking risk on their extended warranty. They can quickly see that in linkage either to the OEM or the third-party administrator that may be providing overall management. So they know exactly where they are from a financial basis, because in many cases they may use that reinsurance system to allocate revenue out to different people in their organization, but they need the accurate, timely information in order to do so.
This has become such a huge part. People's expectations are so high today. But I know we've got over 70 interfaces to 70 different point-of-sale systems, right, that if you're not part of, they're going to sell somebody else's product, right? And all those interfaces are a little bit complex. But the bottom line is, you know, you need to make it seamless, and you make it easy, and then the seller wants to know all the same information as the administrator.
And I think the pandemic has changed a lot of that too, and increased use of digitization and so forth, because everybody bought stuff through the Amazons and everything else, and they could buy a product. It's transparent. It says, hey, you can buy this extended warranty. Here's the years of service. Here's how much it can cost you. And the same thing now applies to vehicles. But during spring through summer of 2020, people couldn't go into a dealership. But a lot of people were buying cars who didn't even have a car before, because their lives just changed in what they were doing. Well, they were doing it all online. And part of it is the MTV and everybody just going, I want short bursts of information. I don't want to spend an hour waiting in line to buy a car or buy a new appliance. I want it quick. I want to know what it is, no surprises, and just enter in the information and go. And so even as people go back into dealerships, they're looking for that information to be readily apparent and for it to be easy, and they're not spending an hour in an F&I office. And this shows now they've got 13 minutes is the average length of time. And I don't know the data on that, but it was a lot longer 2 years ago. I can guarantee that. Same thing applies for claims management. I talked earlier about customers entering in information on claims. There's a number of third-party administrators allow gap claims to be entered online. You can do the same thing when you have a problem with your cell phone. You can do it all online. It gives you a shipping label that you can take and drop it off at UPS or FedEx. And the same thing applies for vehicles too. Now there's mobile apps where they're providing to dealerships where the service technician comes along, they scan the vehicle ID number, it says exactly what plans they have, what outstanding claims may be in process, and they can file a claim right online and check all of that and get a text when it's approved. Secondly, that phone can be used for picture verification. We have a third-party administrator who offers wheel and tire coverage. With one of their OEM programs, they flipped it over to, there's an outside firm, TruePic, that does picture verification. They take pictures of the VIN, they take pictures of the tire, of the rim if that's where the problem is, and they can verify that it's an active picture from exactly the time and date. It gets verified with any picture on the system to make sure that the dealer didn't bring out a tire that they sent in for repair a week ago. They can make sure it's a different picture, it's not showing the same component for a repair, and all of a sudden 80% of those external inspections they used to do now are no longer required. Now it can all be done through a picture verification at a much less expensive and much more timely processing. Electric vehicles and telematics. The amount of information that's in vehicles is just unbelievable now. But even for regular electronics and appliances, everything's connected to the net. A lot of information that's in there. Everything's tracked on performance, usage issues. And electric vehicles have very different than internal combustion engines where you're looking at degradations of battery life. All of that stuff can be tracked. And for certain components that can be fixed or replaced, they can pick those things out early on, notifying the dealer, notifying the customer, so that a repair can be made before a bigger repair is required. The same thing Mark talked about with parts ordering is if they see there's a problem on the vehicle, those telematics can go back to the OEM or to the local dealer that say, look, we're going to have a major repair. We're going to need a new water pump. Let's make sure we've got one in stock in the dealer because they're going to need to come in with a couple of weeks to get this fixed. All of that can be integrated.
I don't know how many people are going to bother going to the conference in Nashville, but we're going to have a person talking about IoT and the impact of IoT on extended warranty and how do you actually manage this. Is part of your benefit is reducing downtime versus just the cost of the repair, right?
You'll quite often the OEM will know about the failure before the customer does.
Yeah.
Or potential failure. That's
potential
the issue,
failure.
right?
Yeah.
Did you price for that or not?
Claim avoidance.
Okay.
And then, Dan, we thought maybe let you give a little overview and then a little Q&A.
Well, I got to joke a little bit about when one of our IT directors at ServiceNet back in the day saw that I was going to be speaking about technology trends, and he said, oh, shit, we're in trouble. I mean, I'm not a IT person, but I've worked a lot around, what I'm really here to speak about is more the enablement and how it's the trends and what technology, how it's changing the dynamic and the shift of power. Quite frankly, the OEM is beating retail at the customer engagement, the product engagement, the aftermarket engagement. And retail has been caught flat-footed, both by the pandemic as well as the technology enablement that these OEMs have that's extending their reach. And so from the customer engagement, the product engagement, the service reach, it is the brand awareness. Everyone thought we were all going towards, I'm thinking going way back, we're going more towards generic. A TV is a TV is a TV. A car is a car or a car. We're more brand loyal now than we ever were. And I think people thought that, with everything was kind of getting commoditized. It's not anymore. People are willing to pay a lot more for one product over another. And I think that's really the change that's occurred, where the OEMs are able to differentiate the product by support, by engagement, by pushing out updates. I mean, how cool is it sometimes when you see one of those little settings and you get that red dot and you go, oh, cool, now I can delete an email by going like that. It's almost like having a new product. There are updates being pushed out to refrigerators right now. Your car is being updated. I think that Car and Driver talked about Teslas, and Tesla got ranked very poorly about hitting the brake system and how long it took to come to a complete stop. Well, within days, they were able to push out an update and be the top ranked in Car and Driver within days. And that is something that is very, very powerful for an OEM in developing brand loyalty. I mean, you could do the same thing with ovens, and it's happening today. So I think the most important part that I have to say about is the trends that technology is enabling. It's allowing global warranty systems that occur, they evolve, where before they were nowhere close to being able to do that. They're allowing the OEM to have that reach and be able to create a long-term relationship with the customer. That was completely off limits. And now that, you can, through, a lot of the connectivity, the OEMs can have the power to be able to communicate with the customer. They may plug and play with a third-party provider, but the systems, I think to your point, were connected together. And it's amazing to look. I've seen the dashboards that really look at trends that occur on claims emergence. You can see that, on design, you can make your product better. There was a time where the glass used to wrap around just a little bit more across the edge. And we could see that ADH claims of screen breakage occur on that model, occurring just within literally weeks of it coming out. And so in the next product life cycle, let's make that aluminum band a little bit wider. And it has a huge financial impact, and its customer, it really has an impact on the customer experience. So that's really what I wanted to add today is where I've seen a trend occur is the shift, dynamic shift from retail to OEM, and the dynamic shift between, the warranty to a complete life cycle engagement, and the shift that occurs with regard to the brand loyalty that's occurring. It's more and more brand loyal than ever before that I've ever seen.
So before I just turn over to a general Q&A, maybe just a couple comments, and Kate helped me out here, but I think the one thing is we really want to make sure that when we put on panels that we really address topics people want to learn more about. And I take a lot of pride in our panel members. I mean, we've got people who set up insurance programs. We've got people here that help people do OEM and strategic. But there's going to be a comment section, and it's absolutely fine to say, this would be a topic I'd like covered a little bit more in a future session at WCM. Maybe it's IoT, maybe it's consumer claims, maybe it's improving some kind of workflow, maybe it's finding out more about how do you offer all these other kinds of add-on products. So I hope when you get towards it today, you find some time to put some comments in about how you'd like to see these conferences expanded. Because, we'd like to increase the numbers, right? We'd like to increase the number of people coming. And how do we do that? And I think we do that by make sure we provide some really relevant information to you. So I'd like to have just open up for any Q&A, and anybody have any questions? Yes. We'll grab you on mic. Hopefully they can. Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe give us.
I was going to comment that this company called 𝗪𝗡𝗣𝗣, they raised $42 million in August, Series B, and they're basically going, deliver repair car repairs to wherever you are. They kind of got this idea from that.
Yeah.
That's like pioneering that model.
No, it's a great point. So the point is about how the whole repair is going to change, and he brought up a specific company that's done a fundraise. We actually now have more companies like that we're putting in the network, where the concept is that, so sometimes when you're selling the extended warranty, you really want to have the benefit of having the person bring the car back to you for service, right? But if you're somebody, and I'll just throw out a name like a Carvana, they don't have repair centers. That's not their business model. So what about the idea of sending the repair technician to the person's home? And then how do you embed that in your admin system so that you know that this is a valid option, is how I look at it. So that's a big trend. We're actually scheduling people to go out and do the repair on site when it's appropriate for that extended warranty seller. Because part of the logic also has to be is, well, wait a minute, part of the benefit of selling this was they were going to do the service, and how do you do more in-house? But I see more customer convenience and service all the time, right? And it's going to be a major change for a lot of us here. How do you arrange for better in-person service versus asking a person to take something?
Yeah, I think, Mark, what you were saying earlier is, I think it'll be a very interesting topic about IoT devices and knowing when the failure is going to occur, or knowing that it's about to fail. The biggest breakdown in machinery, traditional like refrigeration, HVAC, is heat. And being able to know that the customer hadn't vacuumed out the coils in a refrigerator or changed the air filter in their HVAC system, and it's about to fail because of that.
What I try and encourage you to do is think about what problems do you want to solve for your consumers and your customers, and then how do you put the appropriate cost and benefit behind it. And so one typical cost benefit is, well, if it breaks within a certain time frame, we're going to cover you. But the issue with IoT is if you got a 70% chance of this thing failing, it hasn't failed yet. So if your benefit is that we're going to try and give you a contract that eliminates your downtime and inconvenience, then you can price in that component, right? And we have clients that do that the benefit of the extended warranty is the IoT and the diagnostics. And even though it's a 70% failure, we're going to absorb 100% of cost of doing the failure replacement. But a lot of extended warranties for consumers can't make that assumption because they didn't build in that cost component. So you need to think about how you're going to use IoT. How is IoT going to demonstrate your cost benefit, and then where are you going to include that cost in the pricing of that product? And so it's a pretty complex topic.
Well, and I don't know if anybody's really thought of it yet, but one thing you brought up an idea on that is there's a number of luxury brands now that include concierge service. So when your car needs servicing, they just come out, pick up the car from your house, they take it in, make the repair, and bring it back. If it's a maintenance type issue, they'll do the same thing. But if you have exactly that there's going to be a 70% failure rate with a certain component, the dealer can probably save a lot of money and time commitment by making that repair earlier in advance when they know a vehicle may be coming back in within a month or two when the part actually
So that's a whole panel session by itself. And if you'd like to see something like that put together for next year, let us know. Right? Any other questions or anything else for the group that anybody would like to ask? Don't all ask at one time. I guess the tables were pretty good last night for a lot of people too. Well, listen, I thank everybody for being here. Again, I really encourage you to fill out the comments about what more kinds of things you'd like covered. And we got some real experts to bring in the table and help provide you some information. So I'd like to thank my panelists.
Thank you.
Thank you.